Brisbane is my birthplace. I love this city. My memories of growing up in Brisbane include images of playing cricket under the blazing sun, going to South Bank with my family, and picnics at the Botanical Gardens. I remember riding city cats along the river, which winds itself around Brisbane, giving life to the city. But despite a childhood which enjoyed the city and its beauty, I am aware that I have been sheltered from its darker side, its violence, its problems, and its own city wars. Will I someday raise my own children here? And is Brisbane a safe place to raise my children? I struggle to express how I feel about Brisbane. Judith Rodriguez, a famous Brisbane poet, wrote a poem called Backyard Tree. The very title led me to remember a childhood climbing jacarandas in our yard. But other than that, her childhood Brisbane seemed too green, too innocent. As I become an adult, I realize Brisbane has more than just lush greenery. It has elements of danger and violence. David Malouf's poem, Episode from an Early War, portrays my Brisbane. Furthermore, it was a recollection of his thoughts at the age of 9, a different Brisbane to the one we all know. But then I wondered, how different is it really? Malouf's childhood is affected by the real shadows of World War II, and the ghostly millions who rose out of their shoes and went barefoot nowhere, herded into vans. Unlike him, I am less affected by the international wars, and am more worried by the conflicts and tensions in my hometown. Lately, Brisbane seems to be at war with crime. Recently, I see shootings on the news. So my sense of safety is changing, just as his did back then. My concerns are about the changing nature of our community and the crime that affects our safety. Malouf's worries are closely centered to his home and the school environment. He is a child confronting horror in his world, up close, awakening from childishness to realize the world can be menacing and dangerous, even in his own home. Malouf's image of the blind kitten being drowned in his own washing tub haunted him. They represent his innocence being drowned by the harsh reality and conflicts in Brisbane. For me, my personal experiences at home have been nothing like Malouf's. Malouf witnessed cruelty in his home, something that I have never had to deal with. When conflict arises in my house, sure there is anger-filled argument, but never is there cruelty. A sense of family is most important within a supportive environment. Maybe this is why my reaction to violence is different to that of young Malouf. Young Malouf gazed through wartime, crisscross, shockproof glass and witnessed brutal bullying in the playground. If he had stood here 70 years later, he would have seen me, age 9, running for no particular reason in any direction across the churchy schoolyard. I was playing endless games organised to precision, like cricket, rugby, tiggy or red rover, so closely supervised that the war games Malouf witnessed could never have taken place. However, beneath these structured games, there was war. Yes, there were bullies and people who competed for fame in the playground, the classroom and the sporting field. To me, this was a kind of war, and like Malouf, I was usually an observer, not a participant in the playground or classroom battles. I admire the courage of young Malouf, not even age 10, as he regularly walked home almost every afternoon alone, by Musgrave Park, where metho drinkers slept in a flammable haze. Once upon a time, parents felt it was safe for a 9-year-old to walk home, crossing roads, past drunks, and catching public transport. Society's perception of safe has changed. Young children are now wrapped in cotton wool, personally chauffeured to and from school in expensive cars. The scare tactics of the media, alongside the tragic case of Daniel Morcombe, have caused parents to become more vigilant, seeing potential sex offenders and predators in every possible scenario. I certainly was not allowed to walk home alone when I was 9. I can distinctly remember driving past the fig tree gloom of Musgrave Park on my way to a churchy do, at the convention centre dressed in my white. I was in the safety of my own air-conditioned car. But these memories remind me of a song written by famous Aboriginal songwriter Kev Carmody. They drive their Mercedes-Benz and Porsches, live Rolls-Royce gilt-edged lives. You can tell the affluent effluent by the status symbols that they drive. When you on the dole queue, they tell you to your face, you're a bludger on their system, a blight on the human race. I saw the groups of homeless people huddled in shadows, almost afraid of thinking to approach them. However, Musgrave Park isn't the only iconic place in Brisbane for drunks. The Valley, a regular spot for the youth to get drunk and party, is now seen as a dangerous hub. Taxi brawls, vicious assaults, and violent bashings of young men are reported regularly on the news. I guess Maloof's growing realisation that not only the Brisbane that he lives in is not perfect, but also the wider world is flawed, similar to my own realisation at a later age. For me, this occurred when I saw violence for the first time. It was on Wynnum Road. I was walking with a friend back to his place, when I saw a man being thrown by another down his front stairs. They were viciously attacking one another. I felt shocked, and even though I was not personally threatened, I felt scared. Brisbane, my Brisbane, was not meant to be like this. That night, my sleep, like Maloof's, was full of violent images. Thankfully, my nightmare was short-lived. Family comfort, a loving mother, a safe house, and boisterous brothers soon squashed my sense of fear. My sense of safety returned, and I realised that the isolated moments of violence I've witnessed in Brisbane are not typical of my city, and not isolated to my city. No matter which city you are raised in, there will be conflict, whether it's political, on the streets, or in your own home. These wars differ from person to person, as we all live different lifestyles, but for any child, it is something new, and it can be very troubling. My Brisbane is no exception, but it is a place where the youth have support and care. A place where, if there is trouble, I feel safe. I hope when I have kids, they will feel the same way. For now, Brisbane is my home, and I can't imagine not living here.